Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we have a special guest. We have Mack Major. He is a real estate investor and he is very, very knowledgeable on a lot of things about real estate. So I believe a couple days ago, about 2 or 3 days ago, I posted a question on my social media, right? Asking my followers, what questions do they have about real estate? We have a lot of questions in my phone that we're gonna be able to answer. So he is the expert, so I'm gonna ask the questions and he's gonna answer everything. Please comment below if you have any more questions or any more further questions that you would like for us to cover, so that way it'll give us, that was my dog, so sorry about that. So that way it'll give us an idea of what the next video will be. So he will be in with us soon. Thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. All right, so once again, my name is Ari Novoa, and here is Mack Major. He's a real estate investor, and I'm gonna go ahead and give you, the floor is yours. You can introduce yourself to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I am Mack Major, and I'm glad to have an opportunity to talk to you today. So what we're talking about today is anything that's related to real estate. If there's other topics that come up that you guys would like to hear, I would love to be able to share with you. One of my biggest things is I do everything that's kind of related to real estate. When it comes to, I'm a flipper, I lend money. I'm an education source when it comes to those that really want to understand real estate, all the ins and outs, from short sales to how to get a mortgage. What do you need to get a mortgage? I want to get into flipping. I want to get into wholesaling. I've done it all. I have over 20 years of experience in this industry, and part of the reason that we're here today is really to educate you on all of those things that actually bring value to those that don't really understand real estate. Real estate is a great vehicle to be able to invest in. As you know, most people, when you go from one place, you go to your home, to somewhere else, it's all real estate related. And so when you start to understand how real estate works and how important it is, you know that fortunes are either won or lost in real estate and making good decisions. So one of the things that we're talking about today is it a good time to buy real estate? And so as I tell everyone, that you actually make money when you buy real estate, not when you sell it. And so you buy smart. And so that's one of the main reasons that really for me and the groups that work with me, we focus on distressed assets. And so those distressed assets allow us to buy properties that are significantly under the value. We add the value to it and we actually make a huge profit on it. That's either whether or not we're wholesaling it, we're flipping the property, or even if we're buying for ourselves. I always buy distressed properties because every property that I buy is a tool for me to actually make money. And that making that money allows me then to invest in diversify my portfolio, and buy bigger and better projects. So that's kind of what I have done since I've graduated from college. And so I've always had a dual source of income. I've always had a corporate job. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, and I have a master's in business administration. So I've come up and spent 20 years in corporate America, but all the while I was in corporate America, I always had what my hobby was, my passion was, which was real estate. And so when it came time for me to transition away from my corporate job, because maybe 5 to 10 years into my corporate job, I was making more money in my real estate profession than I was in my corporate job. But I wanted that security of having that corporate job, which is my benefits and all the rest of it. Took a leap into my real estate, and things have. When you believe in your passion, and that passion, when you can make money in your passion, it just makes things so much easier. My wife always, says, "Well, Mack, you work so much," but the funny thing about it is that when you love what you do, it doesn't even feel like work. And that's the type of profession you should have, where it doesn't even feel like work. And my job doesn't feel like it. So.
Wow, I love that you say that, because I feel like a lot of people stop pursuing their passions or just leave the passions to the side because they're so focused on their main job from 9 to 5. And they're not at least taking those 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Let me work on my business plan. Let me work on my website. Let me do some research on how to make this business better. Let me start connecting with other people so I can look into this stuff and invest in yourself. And that's something that I'm very big on. And I talk about in my social media about investing in yourself, working on your website. For example, I've been working on my website for SBI Fitness, and having an app developer help me out with an app because I want to help people get healthy at a cheaper price. If I could offer them $25.99 a month, they could have all these programs, military programs included, and they could track their foods and lose weight and get to where they want to be at. Like, I'm happy. If I'm also doing a fundraiser, raising funds for families in need. So I started doing that, and we raised like over $600, and I donated $1,000 from my own money. So it's little things, and I really love that you say they're pursuing your passions and how you have that security job that, you know, it gives you your health insurance, it gives you all this other stuff, but at the same time, your passion is growing, and that's because you're focused your energy in it. And that's something that a lot of people don't do. Like, and it's very important. Like, it's super important. If you want to go over some questions, my main question was when you say distress houses, you're saying houses that need repairs, right?
That's correct. Well, usually when I say distressed assets, so distressed assets are come from different ways. So, you know, some people say, well, how do you get distressed assets? So a lot of times people, death unfortunately causes distress. You know, as people start to age, they let their properties deteriorate, but they still stay in their properties. So there's death, there's divorce, there's just deterioration over time. And so I go after things that most people can't put on the market. Like one of the things that we talked about earlier is VA housing or VA loans. You know, a property's got to be up to par or the VA will not loan on that. Same thing with conventional and FHA. Your property has to have a working bathrooms and kitchens and a good roof, or these lending institutions will not lend on these properties. And so I go after those properties that most people can't get a loan on. And so I buy that distressed property at a much lower dollar amount. And then I add, so a normal contractor may come in and they may charge them $100,000 to do the work, where I know that I can go into that property and maybe do it for $50,000. That means that I come in and I automatically make $50,000 right off the rip, because I've actually, you know, been able to get that distressed asset for cheaper than most people would. And then, so if there were, you know, the market says it's going for $425 and I'm able to buy that property for $250 and put $70,000 in it. So I'm at $300. So now I have $75,000 of equity into a property or whatever else.
All right. So let me read you about the questions.
Let's do it.
That way we go through these questions that they asked me. Let me see, because you know, a lot of people, a lot of pages, if you post a question, they're going to start putting random stuff in your question. I really don't like that. But there's some questions in here.
I think one of the things that we talked about is like whether right now is a good time to buy a house. I mean,
yes, that's, you know, something.
So I know there's a lot of people, you know, so a lot of people are looking at, okay, now is a great time to buy a house because interest rates are at the, you know, one of the all-time low, and they are. And so therefore you're saving tens of thousands to not hundreds of thousands of dollars if you buy now at a lower interest rate. I mean, there's absolutely positively no doubt about it. So now with the interest rates being low, it is a good time based on interest rates. But remember, you know, we had a conversation a couple of minutes ago that it's not when you sell a house that you actually make money, it's when you buy it. And so I honestly, truly believe that this market you're gonna see some depreciation of properties. Instead of properties continuously appreciating like they have, and actually California is a place where it's kind of reaching a bubble. I mean, across the United States, it was a seller's market. Sellers could put a property on the market and they would have multiple offers where you couldn't even buy a property unless you really kind of bought it off market or before it actually hit the market. Mm-hmm. And now you get to the point where you can actually go out and see a property and make a bid lower than what the property actually they listed it for. Everybody's scared right now. There's an uncertainty of whether or not people will have jobs. And so therefore, mortgage companies are so much more stringent right now on who they're willing to give financing to. So So you may be able to go out and get financing right now, but what I would say to you is I believe in the next 3 to 9 months, the property values will go down significantly. So can you go out and get a mortgage right now and get a low interest rate? Yes, you can. I believe that the interest rate on financing is going to go down slightly, and I believe homes are going to go down slightly. So even though you may save tens of thousands, I believe that you could potentially right now be paying tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars more than you would have to pay in the next probably 3 to 9 months than you would. So it's a trade-off. I mean, you're going to get a lower interest rate, but you're going to pay more than you normally would, or you could wait if you have the ability. So right now, you have to realize that if you're in a bad situation or you need to extend your lease or whatever else, people are like, oh, but my lease is up. Most landlords are going to have to extend their leases on people because you can't even get out and find an apartment now. There's a stay put, so don't feel like you have to jump the gun and make a stupid decision. Don't jump from the frying pan into the fire. I would say my recommendation is ride the wave. Literally ride the wave. Let the prices come down on properties. Let the interest rate come down, and it's going to be a win-win situation for you in the long run.
Another question that I got asked I am active duty, but we have the VA loan. So what are your recommendations on using the VA loan to buy houses?
So the first time that me and my wife bought our house, a house together, we used a VA loan. And it was a very simple process. The VA was a little bit more stringent on their guidelines as far as inspections and so because they want to make sure that the veterans are actually getting into a property that they don't have to go in and spend additional money. So they're usually very strict on the inspection. So I believe as far as the money that you actually put out, the ease of being able to do one, I believe it's the best route. Usually the interest rate is fairly good as well, depending on who you use. Like before, a lot of people, we didn't use USAA. They didn't have the best rate at that point in time for a VA loan. So some people, I would say still shop around. I mean, a lot of people, don't get me wrong, we use USAA because my wife's in the Navy. But we use it for banking and insurance and other things, but we have not used them for financing because they did not have the lowest rates for VA loans. So a VA loan is a very good loan. It's you have to put little to no money down on a VA loan. So you can't lose with it. I mean, it's a benefit that you have and you should use it if you need to. The second time around, so we were going to go ahead, the rates got lowered. And we didn't do a VA loan the second time. We actually went conventional and got a much better rate. And we changed it into a 15-year versus a 30-year. So, and I don't know if most people do, but, for me, when you look at a regular loan, a regular $250,000 house, you might be paying almost $500,000 for that house by the time you're done with it, doing a 30-year mortgage. So I would recommend those that can afford it. I'd say do a 15-year mortgage and put more money to your principal versus dragging it out. I mean, some people might want to say, I'd rather have, if you need the extra income, you could always do a 30-year, and then as things get better, put more towards principal. But for me, when you talk about, I know you have talked about saving money and putting away to a separate savings account. To me, I'd rather put that money on a mortgage because it's going to buy down the interest rate. Now, one of the bigger differences is that, if you're getting an interest rate at 2.5, 2.75, that's a pretty low interest rate. If you could go out and you can invest your money in something else that you can get 5 or 7% or 8% return on your investment, there's a difference of 5% that you could actually be making and putting into your pocket, or actually making it on the outside and throwing it back on your mortgage. So if the interest rate was a lot higher, like I said, it's even more important for you to go and do a 15-year versus a 30-year because you're going to be paying more in interest over time. So you guys need to look at when you're out there getting a mortgage, look at the payments for a 15 and a 30-year and see whether or not you can stomach it in your budget, because it will. Trust me, if you were, at the age you are and you're done paying for your mortgage in 15 years, then it gives you the freedom and flexibility to have other investments. So It's just something for people to look at.
If you buy a foreclosure home, how many days do you have for you to be able to back out of it?
So when you buy a foreclosure property, you have to realize that what you put into your sales contract determines when you can back out of it. So usually when you do a contract, you may say, hey, you know what, I'm in the process of buying this house and I want a 15-day inspection period. So after 15 days, just say, they say that, okay, if you want it, you have to put $1,000, just say $1,000 earnest money deposit down. So they give you 15 days to do your due diligence in that process. After 15 days, your money goes what they call hard, meaning that you can back out of that deal the day that you're supposed to sit down and close at that table, but you're going to lose your $1,000. So you have until the very end of your contract day that you're supposed to close, in which you can back out of, period, and not legally be bound to it. But if you want your money back, you have to do it within the time period, the inspection period on your contract. So that's another thing when you guys are writing contracts, of which you have to make sure that you thoroughly understand what you're asking for in that contract and the number of days that you need to get or you need to have to do your inspections. And then typically what you want to make sure that's in your contract as well, your purchase agreement contract, is that it's always contingent on financing. Because if you don't put that as contingent on financing, when you go, they may say, listen, you have to forfeit your earnest money deposit. And they're like, listen, but I can't get finance. Something has come up where I can't get finance. And so you will have to forfeit your earnest money deposit. So there's some things that you need to have in your contract. One is, like I said, that there is an inspection period because you want to make sure that you get one. So you get a licensed inspector to come out to make sure, like we talked about dry rot or things of that. It could be, insects. It could be mold. It could be mildew. It could be a bad roof, bad plumbing. You want to make sure that you get your inspection. So therefore, you can either go back to the homeowner and ask for a price reduction, or you can back out of the contract. And then you also want to make sure that it's contingent on financing. If your financing falls through, you get your money back. Instead of saying, because if you don't have it and you're not financed and that wasn't a contingency, that means that they could potentially, if you don't go forward with that deal, they can keep your money.
Would you recommend young adults to buy real estate as soon as they have money?
I would say yes. I mean, I think people, so the crazy thing about it right now is that there's individuals that are 17 and 18 that are out there doing it. I mean, they've bought their first, second, third investment property, and they're out there investing. I believe that as soon as you have enough money, but you have to be educated. So this is where it comes in to being educated. You have to make sure that you have the right person that's guiding you through this process. Because if you're young and you're naive, or you're young and you're not educated, then people can put you into a bad deal. And so it's so important that you have either a mentor or a coach or an educator to help guide you through this process. And there's a ton of people out there that don't really know what they're doing, but they're out there trying to lead people and they're trying to coach people. Go to somebody who's reputable. So go to somebody who has some credentials behind them, that has experience behind them, and that other people can vouch for, like, this guy is the real deal, or this woman is the real deal. It's so important because, starting off on the wrong foot can sour somebody and make them go a different route. Like they may have to go work at a regular job because all the money that they had, they spend it on a bad investment. So I would recommend young adults start investing in real estate. It's the only solid thing that's out there. And so there's other vehicles. People invest in gold, they invest in Bitcoin, they have Forex. There's all of these different investment tools that are out there. I just happen to know real estate really well. So I don't discourage anybody from investing in whatever you want to invest in, but whatever you invest in, go to the people that know how to give you the guidance before you make a bad mistake.
A lot of people don't have $20,000 in their account or $60,000 in their account, and they don't invest in things that make their money grow. So what would you say will be a good amount of money to start at least flipping one house or buying a property to rent it?
Usually to be honest, 20 grand is what you probably need to get into a property. And that's about $100,000 property, $120,000 property. But so typically what I would say is, you asked me, to be honest, you asked me about 5 or 6 questions in that one question, to be honest with you. Because most people use what they call hard money or private money when they go in and they buy an investment property. If you can go to the bank, like you could right now, if you want to go buy a property and get a mortgage on it, you can buy an investment property and go to a bank, but it's got to be to a certain standard. If you have a lower standard property, like you said, like the VA, if you don't have a kitchen or a bathroom or operating plumbing or electricity, they won't give you a loan. The same thing goes with the bank. Banks are going to be much more stringent on that particular property. So if you can't get financing by a traditional bank or a small bank, you then have to go to a private money lender. I have a private lending company that I lend to investors. Usually when you go to a private lender, they want you to have experience. They want you to have at least 3 properties underneath your belt before they're willing to loan to you, because why give money to someone who doesn't know what they're doing? Exactly. So a lot of times a lot of these people are, so like coming through me, I can kind of give these people, if I'm mentoring or coaching them, I give them the credibility. It's like giving them a credit score that they don't have. So the experience level is really big in private lending, where on the outside banking world, having a good credit score is your credibility. So if you have good credit, you're usually able to get a loan. So if you have good credit and you have money saved up, or you have income, then usually they'll give you a loan. The hard money side is you need some type of experience and you need money. So that experience level is really your credit score. And so them people who work with me automatically get a credit score or experience, because they know that I'm not going to lend money to someone that I can't help get through the process and be successful. So typically on a private loan, I'll give you 10% of you have to put 10% down, and I loan you 90% of that property. So if you have a $100,000 property, you have to bring $10,000 down, and I'll loan you $90,000. So it's $10,000 down plus about 4% in fees. So you probably have to bring, roughly about $14,000 to the table on something like that. And then if you need construction money to do rehab, then I'll give you 100% of that rehab money to put that property back to, so if you need, $30,000 in rehab, I'll give you the 90 plus the 30 to put that property back, back to bring it back to life, and for you to either flip it or rent it out or whatever you want to do with it. So, I mean, there's different things, but I mean, once you put up my information for everyone, they could either DM me or I can give them a fee sheet to teach them. But it's either private money or bank money, or you can always borrow against, if you have a 401k, or there's investors out there that you can raise money from other investors to get even a lower interest rate. So in the interest rate on private money is anywhere from, I would say, 10% to 14%. And it may seem like a lot of money, but when you're only putting 10% down on a property, you have to realize, and I don't want to get into a lot of details, but you get cash on cash return. So if you were able to put $10,000, just say you were able to put $15,000 down, and you were actually able to, on the back end of it, to make another $15,000. So you put $15,000 down, you were able to get 15, and you had the property for just say 6 months, and you made 10 grand on it. You made 75% return on investment on your money. So you put it on your 15 and you made 10. So you got your whole 15 back, and then you made another $10,000 on top of it. You almost, theoretically, if you would add another 5, you would have made 100% return on your money. So that's the type of investments that you want to be able to do, is when you're getting, I think one of the things that you put out about, putting money in a CD or whatever else, and you might get 3.5 or 4% return over a year. Where if somebody's doing a flip and they almost make 75% return in 4 to 6 months, then they reinvest that money again the next 6 months. I mean, they could have made, theoretically 150% return on their money in a year on that same $10,000 or $15,000. So I teach you not only how to invest in property, but how to actually get the most out of the money that you're investing as well. So like I said, everything that you and I can talk about now, I mean, it would take us hours to go over everything, but it's really a matter of really keeping people understanding the basics of investing and getting them with the right people to help propel them in the right direction. That's what we really want. We want to give them enough information so they can then go seek out what they need, whether that's me, whether that's you, or you directing them to someone else. And I think that's our goal, is to make sure that they're educated on the right steps.
Do you have the team that helps them out with the construction, the
Yes,
painting,
yes, absolutely.
the project manager, property managers, and all that? And also, one thing that they've asked me was, what do you think about property managers and
Yeah.
their roles? Is it like a must-have, or what are your thoughts on it?
So what I would say to you is that the answer is that every place that I lend, typically I have a full staff of. When I say I don't actually have anything, but it's your network. We always talk about your network as your net worth. And so I have contractors, project managers, property managers. All of those things are totally different, and you can't give that. Just like you wouldn't go to a dentist to get your feet taken care of, or vice versa. There's a lot of people that try to be the jack of all trade and master of none, and they wind up screwing stuff up. And so the answer to you is that every place that I lend money, I have a personal responsibility to make sure that I get my money back. And so for me to be able to get my money back, I have to make sure I have a network of people that can do all of the things that ensure that I get my money back. So if an investor invests with me, they know that their money is in good hands, because their money is really my money. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they're only putting up 10%. I'm putting up 90%. So I need to make sure that it's going to go right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
So therefore, if you go in with someone who has skin in the game, the likelihood of your success being higher, because I know that if you don't get paid, I don't get paid. And so that's what you want. You want people to have skin in the game, instead of someone who's just going to take your money and pass you on to someone else. And so people don't really realize that until they get over their head. And that's what I try to do. And so when you talk about property managers, I think so having a bad contractor has totally screwed up the industry, because there's a lot of people that take your money and they run. They're not credentialed. They don't do what they're supposed to do. And it's collect as much money as you can, start a job, move to the next job, collect some more money, and you got all these unfinished jobs. Then when you talk about property managers, there's a ton of bad property managers out there. So if you don't currently live in a state, then it's always good to have a property manager screen. So you may collect the money. So there's a couple different, you may collect the money on a monthly basis, or you could have a property manager screen those people, get you a tenant, and then have a contract with them that says, if this tenant doesn't stay in or doesn't pay or whatever else for X amount of months, then they're responsible. But if you want to manage it from afar, you can. It's just a lot more difficult. And it depends on the class of people that you're also lending to as well. I mean, or you're being a landlord for. If you're going into I would say a more depressed area, you're going to have more issues with that. You're going to have to get a higher rate of return on that investment, because you're going to probably have more issues. If you go into a nicer area, more working class people, it may cost you a little bit more, but then part of your management costs will probably go down, because you're getting a different class of people. So I think property managers are very important to people who are flipping, or who are landlords from far away. If you're closer, I believe, it may be a little bit easier for you to be able to manage, because you may have plumbing issues, electrical issues, you might have other issues that come into it. But property managers are important if you get the right one. Having the wrong one is absolutely a nightmare, though.
To end and to finalize this, what are some other things and maybe tips that you would recommend people to do? And definitely, I will encourage people to follow you and ask you questions, and that want to invest and go to someone that's experienced, because the way I look at it is like, we have so I'll get back to the military because I have a lot of military people who follow me. So would you listen to a sergeant major or somebody who has been in for 20 plus years, or would you listen to someone who's only been in the game for like 1 or 2 years?
Correct.
So I feel like with the experience, you learn from past mistakes and past things, and you know what not to do and what to do and how to do it better. So
Right.
I really appreciate you taking time of your day and teaching me. I definitely learned a lot today, and teaching everyone, my community and your community, all this stuff. And I honestly, I look forward to working with you in the future, and because I do want to start into real estate. That's one of my biggest things. So I do look forward to that because I want to be guided by someone who knows what they're doing. But what are some words of encouragement or final words or things to look out for?
I believe, real estate is one of the most, it's the backbone of the economy. People may not believe that it is. They may look at stocks and all the rest of it, but real estate, it really is the cornerstone and foundation of the economy. And it's one of the last things that goes. I mean, that's why like now you're out looking for properties and prices are still high because it gets hit last. And sometimes it can get hit hard, but it gets hit its last. But I want everybody to realize that just when you're going to go for an investment, do your homework. Nothing is so urgent for you to make bad mistakes. Get educated, get with the right people, be around people that help lift you up and not bring you down. But also bring up those people that you can. I mean, my thing is always giving back. So I think part of us doing the work that we do is always about giving back to people. And I think we want to educate them. We want people to follow their dreams, follow their passion. We want them to get out there and make money and make good decisions. So, all I would say is these are the times where people, I mean, I really kind of ramped up my social media because I want people to know, invest in themselves. We don't want the government, unless you're actually literally getting paid by the government because you're doing work for them, I don't want anybody to rely solely on one source of income. Always have another source. Diversification in incomes, just like you diversify in stocks. Believe in yourself, educate yourself, bring up people when you can, but always, follow your dreams, follow your passion. And when your passion, you can make money at your passion. Your work is no longer work. It's actually fun. I mean, to get up and go to work. So believe in yourself though. And like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I think the things that you're talking about, just educating people on basics. Once you teach them how to earn money, save money, now we're going to start investing money. Now we're going to start building generational wealth, because that's what it really comes down to, is building that generational wealth. So the people that we bring up don't have to work as hard as we did, to get the things that they want.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I really hope everyone got a lot of value out of this and have their pens and papers. And that's something I'll bring up. So I will add this in the front. Make sure you bring up pens and papers and actually write down stuff, because it's very important. And thank you so much for joining us today. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks.